Death Stranding has been perhaps the biggest surprise for me in gaming this year. We saw it coming a mile away, and yet I totally expected to dislike it based on everything I had seen about it, including reviews. Instead, it's provided me with a whopping 66 hours of overall incredibly enjoyable gameplay. Hello everybody, Jonny here, and today in this spoiler-free video I'm going to share with you all of my thoughts on Death Stranding, and by the end hopefully you'll be able to extrapolate whether or not it's for you. Let's go. Graphical presentation is a standout here, with convincing rain effects ranging from light to heavy, giving a nice wet texture to the terrain and objects in the world. You'll also encounter plenty of snow, including intense whiteouts you'll need to brave in order to get to your destination. The snowy peaks are really a sight to behold, and conquering them is an experience of its own. The terrain overall looks quite good, definitely reminiscent of Horizon Zero Dawn, which shares the same engine, of course. There is also a decent amount of variety of biomes, ranging from volcanic or arid to snow-covered mountaintops. The terrain traversal is aided by tools like ladders and climbing ropes, which look really damn cool, and I loved using those. Sadly, the unaided climbing animations are a bit glitchy, and the game has a hard camera lock on the character, causing the camera to be shaky at times when climbing. When it comes to characters, buildings, vehicles, etc., the game feels derivative of Metal Gear Solid games, which is not a bad thing here, and works quite well. I particularly enjoyed the look of the player-built structures, such as bridges or zip lines. And speaking of characters, holy hell, this is some of the best facial motion capture I have ever seen in a game. Especially for the main characters, the game offers high-quality cinematics itching ever so closer to a real live-action movie, with incredible fidelity for facial expressions. On the flip side, the holograms of people look positively dull and uninteresting to the point that I lost interest in most of those interactions. Not only that, but those stations are supposed to be housing thousands of people, and you never run into anyone outside of holograms or cutscenes, which makes the world feel really devoid of people, while it's really not. Finally, talking a bit about performance, the game ran pretty stable at 30 FPS on the original PS4, even during intense boss encounters, the nature of which I cannot discuss here due to spoilers. However, after long sessions, I noticed some FPS drops due to thermal throttling, since the PS4 gets very hot even with plenty of ventilation space. Overall though, phenomenal graphical presentation. Quite early on, you're tasked with connecting America by going to different delivery stations and adding them to the network, and yes, you happen to be uniquely suited for the job. From there, the gameplay loop the game offers is, crudely speaking, hauling shit from one station to another repeatedly. I wouldn't blame you if I lost you there, but this proved to be very satisfying to me due to how much I enjoyed terrain traversal and building roads, bridges, and zip lines to more easily connect the different areas. For example, I spent hours creating a zipline system that connected the main stations over mountains and rivers. One complaint that I have here is that there is a limit to how many structures you can build, the bandwidth available. This can be upgraded by connecting new stations, but it is still prohibitively low if you have any interest in building many zip lines or bridges like I did. The online features help a little bit with this by allowing you to see and use structures built by other players, and there's a real feeling of cooperation when a clutch climbing rope saves your butt or something you built is instrumental for another player, even if you never find out about it. In fact, someone I helped found me on Twitter and thanked me for saving his ass. That was unreal. The one negative I have with this is that I wasn't able to see anything from my friends, and the game could very easily support some kind of filter to prioritize your PSN friends over others. Terrain traversal is not your only enemy. You'll come across supernatural entities called BTs and other humans who are after your cargo or generally want to see you killed. Human or otherwise, those obstacles can be avoided or tackled by using stealth and patience, or a more direct approach. In the case of human enemies, however, stealth proved to be frustrating to the point where I just gave up and attacked them directly. I'm not gonna talk about BT encounters, but suffice to say, experimentation and trial and error are required to learn how to handle those. As the cliche goes, it's all about the journey, not the destination. You come to take pride in these deliveries and braving terrain and enemies, human or otherworldly, all the while accompanied by a phenomenal soundtrack and quirky characters. And that takes us to the music. The game boasts an inspiring selection of licensed tracks from bands like Churches, Low Roar, and more, as well as original tracks that do a huge amount to elevate the progression. Each track is set to play at specific points, for example when approaching a new station for the first time, or after conquering a peak or a threat. It felt like they were carefully chosen and absolutely made the whole experience more memorable. The sound effects are also fantastic overall, with thick rain sounds, strong wind and thunderclaps during storms. Sound also plays a big role in some stealth sections when trying to avoid BTs, and other detection methods are unavailable. BT enemies have powerful sounds conveying the magnitude of the threat accordingly. All of that works very well together. When it comes to the voice acting, it is absolutely stellar. As expected from this top-tier cast featuring actors like Norman Reedus, Mads Mikkelsen, Troy Baker, Lee Seydoux, and Tommy Earl Jenkins, who had an incredible performance towards the end of the narrative that blew me away, and I would fully expect him to get an award for that this year. At first, the story might seem inscrutable, but I'm happy to report that most points are explained at length and explicitly, leaving no loose threads. As a narrative, it's not perfect and there are certainly plot holes one could poke at. But in the end, it was interesting enough to keep me engaged until the very end. Learning about the convoluted connections between different characters and their past was a joy for me, and the cinematography of cutscenes was very well executed. The lore of the game is fascinating, and I found myself reading most of the interviews and backstory. However, the writing in some cutscenes is downright weird and cringy. Overall though, the story and characters are interesting and quirky in an endearing way, and if you can get past the heavy-handed nature of the characters' names and dialogue, you will likely enjoy it a great deal. In conclusion then, this game was exceptionally enjoyable and memorable for me. The gameplay was surprisingly satisfying and addictive, the presentation is engrossing and compelling, and the phenomenal music and voice acting ties it all together in a neat package of a game. Hopefully I've given you enough information to make up your own mind about it, but it gets 4 paws out of 5 and a big recommendation from me. If you want to discuss further, hit me up on Twitch where I'm live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Saturday. Links for that down below. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.